The topic today is pesticides. I'm going to be switching between some overheads and some slides, so we'll have. If any of you were around in the 1950s and happened to open up a Saturday or Reader's Digest, you'd see this ad. This came from an actual ad in the Reader's Digest in the 1950s. Pesticides at that time were just coming into use. DDT was a very popular material. It had been developed during the war and had been used to protect soldiers from external parasites and all kinds of things. It has been used in the U.S., but it's basically been banned for about 20, 25 years in the U.S. for general use. One of the reasons being that it sticks around for a long time and it causes a lot of environmental contamination. We are very generous taxpayers. We're spending $10 million in the Bay Area right now to clean up residues of DDT manufacturing plant that stick around for a long time. They've got to take this stuff out of, they've got to remove the soil, haul it off, and decontaminate it. So thank you for your tax dollars for helping us.
Pesticides are a broad category of chemicals that are used in agriculture and inside and around the home, primarily for pest and weed control.
So we encounter pesticides on our fruits and vegetables that we buy from the store. We use pesticides in our homes, like with Raid sprays or bait traps, and we use them in our lawns and gardens.
Exposure to these chemicals can cause a myriad of health problems. Pesticide poisoning is a more immediate reaction, most commonly caused by occupational use or accidental ingestion.
The symptoms are pretty different, but they usually include various neurological symptoms like nausea, headache, dizziness. Sometimes you might feel numb, you might feel confused. When you apply them, even if it seems like you're applying a really safe ingredient, always use gloves and always try to wear a mask if you can smell the pesticide when you're applying it, when you're being exposed.
The Environmental Protection Agency regulates the amount of pesticide residue on store-bought fruits and vegetables. So while this type of exposure is unlikely to lead to poisoning, it could lead to more long-term side effects.
Some pesticides have been linked to Parkinson's disease and various types of cancer. And especially during pregnancy, exposures have been linked to reduced childhood IQ, behavioral problems, cancer, and birth defects. If you do have high exposure to pesticides, you might not experience pesticide poisoning, but that doesn't mean that you aren't experiencing some very low level toxicity.
Health experts stress the best way to limit pesticide exposure is by buying organic produce or soaking fruits and vegetables for at least 5 minutes and limiting pesticide use in the home when possible.
You know, it's really easy to bust out a spray when you see a cockroach or a bug that you would like to kill. But you can just use a shoe. A shoe works just as well, and it's not emitting toxic chemical.
EWG's research on pesticides has always been about letting people know what they can be exposed to through the foods that they're eating.
When I first heard my colleagues tell me they found chlormequat in the foods that they had tested, I said, "What's chlormequat?"
Chlormequat is a new chemical in the US food supply. It is used primarily on grain crops like oats and wheat. Once we learned that the EPA had essentially started allowing chlormequat on oat-based products that were being imported into the US, we decided to test them. And when we tested those products, we found chlormequat in over 90% of those samples. That was samples like cereals, breakfast bars, snack bars, really common foods that people are eating every day.
EWG's toxicologists looked at the chemistry of this particular chemical and were alarmed.
Chlormequat causes really concerning health effects in animal studies. It harms the reproductive system and it can disrupt fetal growth. And that gives us concern for how this chemical might also impact human health. Once we knew it was really prevalent in the food supply, the next question was, well, can you measure it in people? This is the first study of chlormequat exposure in the US population. Our study is published in the peer-reviewed journal called Journal of Exposure Science and Environmental Epidemiology. We tested the urine of about 96 different people. I mean, we expected to find a little bit of chlormequat, or maybe some people would have detections, but the fact that 4 out of 5 77 of the 96 people had exposure to chlormequat was really astonishing, especially because this is a pretty new chemical to Americans.
The average American probably believes that the EPA is solely in the business of protecting them and their families from contaminants, including pesticides in the foods. But the opposite is actually true.
We need the EPA to protect children's health and use the best available science and data to do that.
Who doesn't love a glorious red apple? Or a plump strawberry? Or fresh and juicy coconuts? But these were probably grown on an orchard using pesticide.
85% of people are concerned about pesticide exposure in food. Are they risky?
The mystery illness is said to have been caused by excess levels of toxins in pesticide.
But is this still true? Organic is the umbrella term for anything grown without chemical pesticides. Regulation for what is and isn't organic vary by country, but generally fall in line with natural biological systems and protecting water, soil, air, and biodiversity. Organic farming methods can include introducing natural predators to keep pests away, or growing multiple crops to improve soil health. But what is certain is that organic vegetables contain far fewer pesticide residues and are therefore healthier. But there are a lot of gray areas. Organic farms can be small scale and cater to local communities, or they can be large and industrial, transporting food over large distances, sometimes overseas.
Looked at 40 years of all the studies done comparing organic with conventional farming.
Reginald and his team found that while conventional farms produce 10 to 20% higher yields, organic farming is not only better for the environment, but, and most surprisingly,
it was more profitable, significantly so. And part of that reason is because organic farmers get a premium for their food. They get more money for their food. Over that 40-year period between 1975 and 2015, the premium averaged about 30% more.
This high price of organic food can't be ignored though. Eggs cost up to 3 times more in Germany, where I live, for example. Organic milk is double the cost of conventional milk. But at the moment, of all the farmland around the world, the share of completely organic farms is just 1.5%. As this grows, the price of organic produce is expected to fall to make organic food more accessible. In fact, prices have already largely started to fall in the last 10 years around the world.
Our studies show very convincingly that that given the yields that are produced in organic agriculture and the amount of food that is needed to satisfy the nutritional requirement of the human population, that it is possible with organic agriculture to produce enough food to feed everybody.
So the question is, what can we do as conscious consumers?
Your fresh produce, buy them more locally, know your farmer. They tend to be organic.
Governments are going to support farmers. They need to incentivize good farming practices. Say for growing cover crops, they should be supported for longer crop rotations to help them do it. They should be supported to convert to these more integrated and organic systems.
The best thing that you can do as an individual is to join a movement. Whether that movement is the International Peasant Movement, La Via Campesina, which has hundreds of millions of landless workers, farmers, peasants, and supporters around the world, or whether it's some of the other movements making dramatic calls for systemic change in the way that we operate.
The movement to ditch chemicals is growing. And between farmers, consumers, and the state doing their bit, we could one day make these cheesy, happy farms a reality.